We're going to be recording this session. You can all jump here and actually do whatever you want to do as a talent show, perhaps post 11 a.m. I know some of you have to run back to work or pretend they're going back to work. That's still okay. So that's all good. If everyone is familiar with the space, we've got a few safety exits. If you're like, what is she talking about? You can all leave. No, I'm not going to hold any grudge. I might. I'm just going to let Amy say a few words before I take over the stage. Thank you.
Welcome everyone. Thank you so much. Thank you. Welcome everyone. Thank you so much for coming along today. We're very excited to have Elisa to come to talk to us today about the Italian histories in the Gympie region. Before we get started though, I would just like to do a quick acknowledgement to country. So I would just like to acknowledge the Gubbi Gubbi and Cubbi Cubbi as the traditional owners of the land on which this event is taking place today. Also the Bachelor people to the northeast of the Gympie region and the Waka Waka to the west of the Gympie region as well. And I'd just like to acknowledge any elders, past, present and emerging who might be here today as well. So thank you so much for coming. We will be filming this presentation today, so if you could all please fill out on your clipboard, there is a media consent form that we do need you to fill out for today, and just be aware that Elisa is just filming herself, so if you do ask a question, you will be on the film, okay? And yeah, if you have any issues with photos being taken, please do let me know because I will be taking photos. Otherwise, I really hope that you enjoy the event today, and thank you so much, Elisa, for coming along today. I know you put in many hours of research in preparation for today and for your book as well, which we would love to hear about. So thank you so much, Elisa. Give her a round of applause.
It does sound a bit selfish. She was filming herself. Not like that way. Trust me, I'm probably not even going to look back at the video. Thank you, Amy. Thank you, Emma, for being here from the Gympie Regional Libraries. They are actually hosting the event. I only had to show up. That's amazing. I am truly grateful to the Gympie Regional Council because they got me started. Thanks to their funding, I could say to my husband, sorry, I have to do this. The mayor wants me to do this. So it's something that I do not give for granted. We are in a smaller area of Queensland, of this amazing continent of Australia, so I'm truly, truly grateful. Now, before we get going, I would like to understand what kind of audience I've got here with me. Does anyone know what's this for? Don't be shy.
Staring.
Staring?
Kids' hands.
Yes, whack it. All right. Oh, for the shoe, I didn't think about that. Very clever. We might need the longer one though. Fantastic. But this morning, it's simply a door prize. Okay? If by, at any stage I might be asking you some questions, this will be your door prize. And then you can use it in whatever way. You can whack it, whack someone, you can, scratch your back. That's very, very, very helpful. Trust me on that. Now, when Amy asked me, what date should we do this event? I got my thinking hat on and I thought, oh, what about the 2nd of June? She said, no, sorry, the community centre apparently is busy. People play pickleballs, all sorts of balls are dropped here in the community centre. So we had to pick for another date, which happened to be today. What's today? Queensland Day! Happy Queensland Day, everyone! How amazing how this software, the universe, can work for us. We went from the 2nd of June to the 6th of June, which, for me, they're both very important dates. The 2nd of June, it was the 79th anniversary of Italy's Republic. We kicked the monarchy, we said, no, sorry, King, we don't want you anymore, we now want to be a republic. So it's something very much felt in Italy, and I had the pleasure to be called in Brisbane, the big city. I was one of the guests from the consulate of Italy, and there were many, many people in that room, particularly people from the government, Queensland government. It was a pleasure to listen to what they actually had to share to the Italian Australian community that was there. What they said, of course, had lots of gratitude. They were very, very appreciative of the contributions. But something that they kept talking about, it was Queensland and it was Brisbane. I didn't know, I do know now. I'm very patriotic when it comes to the Gympie region. So after they gave all of their speeches, I actually stood up, kind of. I stood up and I told them, what about the Gympie region? The what, sorry? Gympie Region. Where are you from? Oh, I'm from Rainbow Beach. Oh, yeah, Rainbow Beach, all the excitement. And then they said, yeah, how far is it from Coolangatta?
Rainbow Bay.
Thank you. I said, that's Rainbow Bay, that's not Rainbow Beach. So if I thought, you know, there's always a little voice that sits, I'm pretty sure, on each shoulder here, just saying, why are you doing that? Why are you even bother? No one is going to read the book. No one is going to do that. No one is going to care. Well, after being there on Monday, I actually feel very happy they've done this humble project about the Gympie region, because we are amazing. I love it. I couldn't get out of Brisbane any faster, you know, although it did take me 5 hours on the bus, so it wasn't that fast as I wished. But there is a major difference. So even when it comes to immigration, there's a lot of talk about Perth, Melbourne, Sydney, Cairns, okay, the bigger centres and where there's more people, that's where people put their attention because there's more money or whatever. But what about the Gympie region? So today, 166th anniversary of Queensland. It was in 59, when it all happened, and you had Queen Victoria, the Queen of the Queensland, that she actually signed a piece of paper that became very much important. And I believe, I know there's some people here that will have the answer for me, that's probably when the state of origin started. Queensland, New South Wales, cockroaches, banana benders and all of that. But, have a look at these maps. The colour would tell you how old they are. So the one on the left, it's actually the very first map. The surveyor, Leopold, a friend of mine, he drew the very first official map of Queensland. It was back in 1860, okay? You probably can see it because they're a bit further away. On the corner here, there's three names that I love to see there. The Great Sandy Island, which is an island, and it's very sandy, and it's very great. What a name, the Great Sandy Island. He says though, White Bay, and also Double Island Point. It was there already, 1861. And this was Edward, another friend of mine. Now, as you can see here, dates are important. Without dates, we don't have the context. If we don't have the context, we might not appreciate what's actually happening in life, okay? So the dates are always very present in the book that I'm hoping someone will be brave enough to read. Some here have been really threatened by me. Thank you, Kelly, you had to read it. I appreciate that. Dates are very much important, and in the book, especially on a few chapters, you will get to understand why I get so full on when it comes to dates, okay? Something that made me giggle. So looking back, around 1860, okay, so Queensland was officially declared a colony in 1859 by Queen Victoria. Let's see if I have another photo there. No. Queen Victoria. In Italy, in 1861, the first king was Vittorio. So I felt very close. There must be a thread between you and I and you and all of us together. You had Queen Victoria, we had King Vittorio. With all the names, it could have been Giacomino, it was Vittorio. Okay? Now, apart from that, another thing they really love is names. I apologize, I always mispronounce your names, but you do the same to me, so we're fair there, that's not a problem. The place that you call Italy, it's actually Italia. This is how we call our own country, Italia. And the place that you call, I need to dislocate my jaw a little bit, Australia. That was good, wasn't it? Thank you very much. We call it Australia. I actually like to come to Australia. Australia, it's a bit scary, so sounds are important, but they definitely, Italia, Australia. There is a rhyme. There is a rhyme. And it's definitely the two lands that became home for many of the same people. Many of you here, even if you do not have Italian background, there's some wannabes. Some people already told me, I even tried to do the test. And they said there's no, there wasn't percentage there. But everyone, like it or not, comes from somewhere else. And most of you have the background. You come from Hungary, you come from Scotland, you come from Ireland, maybe not many French people, I haven't met many of those. You do get, thank you, someone has French, beautiful. Everyone has a background, and that's something I'm really hoping that everyone can appreciate and be proud of. There's so much in life that we can all be proud of, okay? So when it comes to this continent, Australia, the background, it's everywhere, it's all around us, it's part of the history, okay? Now, talking about rhymes, Italia, Australia, something that will never rhyme until I leave, it will be spaghetti and Vegemite. There's no rhyme there. There's definitely no rhyme, okay? So let's... Oh, totally, what have I done to you now? So, I'm pretty sure that not many people know this. I said, well, Italy started, as a kingdom in 1861. That's 160 years ago. It's not that long ago. But what about the name? Funny enough, politically, it became Italia. It became the Kingdom of Italy. But the name has been around for a very long time. So, through my research, I went back to before Christ, BC. And it was from the Greeks. Apparently, they gave us that name. And then through the Romans, that's the way the people would call the geographical area. I don't know if you're familiar with the map of Europe. There's what we call the boot. Looks like it's kicking someone. And then there's the crown of the Alps, this beautiful mountain. So anything that was under, there was Italia. Okay, so the name is way older than the unification. Now, we are very passionate, and we do use our body as a body language. I do have an idea why. For millennia, we've been speaking differently. So it was a way to communicate, which is something that also the Aboriginals used to do here. Their songs and singing, we were more passionate, not singing, just moving things. The unification, of course, started from conflicts. There were different wars. People were like, no, I'm going to do it like this. I'll tell you the recipe of the tiramisu. It was always a bit of a conflict. So together in the same space, but very much different. And today, we're still different. I always say where I'm from, because I'm very proud of it, but I do speak different languages. I do have a different lifestyle. Mind you, I'm from one of the blue zones. Does anyone know what's the blue zone? Someone is shaking. Is that a yes or just shaking something? It is a yes. Okay, I'll get there. So, Italy, if people say, oh, I know such and such, he's Italian. I'm like, yeah, okay, where from? I need to know where from Italy, because that would tell me a lot about the person. The dialect they speak, the way they might react, they might be triggered to some things. Like, I'm very honest, we're very touchy where I'm from. Once we love, but you gotta get to the stage, you gotta get under our skin and then your family. But to get to there, it's not that easy, okay? So, looking at the map of Queensland and then looking at the Gympie Region, this amazing place, still very much unknown for now, because I'm taking Gympie to Europe. We do have 21 different regions in Italy. So the smaller, for what I could work out, it's Umbria, which is in the heart, you can see there, it's in the heart of Italy. Still bigger than the Gympie region. But something that you're gonna love is that in the one, I think it's square meter, In Italy, you might have 56 people. That's why we're grumpy and cranky, and again, we move hands and we shake things. Here you have 9. Okay? As I said yesterday, I couldn't believe it actually said that on the SBS Italian radio interview. When they asked me about Rainbow Beach, I said, oh yes, look, there's 1,000 people, 1,000 residents, and 350,000 bush turkeys. That actually ended up being the headline. They kept that. They loved me. Yes, I know, with all the things I said, they took really account of the 350,000 bush turkeys. Now, Parks and Wildlife is here today, so they might prove me wrong. Watch this space. Okay? But even, you know, the different names, it's important that we understand these things, because Italy, it's not just one personality, okay? When I've been asking to people, oh, where are you from? Australia. Yeah. But where are you from? Look at me like, what's wrong with you, mate? Like, where were you born? Where did you go to school? Where did you make love the first time? No, I don't want to know that. But, you know, where did you meet your husband? Where are you from? Australia. Okay? We would not say that. I'm from Sardinia. Alessia is from a whole different region. I lived for 9 years in Veneto, near Venice. Beautiful, by the way. I know people that will say, I'm Sicilian. Okay? So, when you're going to be reading the book, if you have time to spare in your busy life, you will see that in each chapter, I made sure to point out where these people, these stories come from, where they were from, because it does create the context, okay? So in my research, when I was talking to people, and they brought to me the information, the photos and the stories, the recollections from Nonno, from the grandfather, or from the actual parents, or from them being on the ship in the 50s, I was able to give them some insights. Oh yes, this is what was happening in that specific area in Lombardy when your grandfather came here. Okay? So this is the blue zone, Sardinia, that's where I am from. And yes, we get very old, so they might cut the pension one day. There's 5 different blue zones on Earth. One of these is Sardinia. We get very over 100 years old, okay? In Sardinia, when we go there with my husband, there would be some, you know, my mom getting very upset, speaking fast and this and that. We're trying to work out, what are we going to do today? Where are we going to go today? And then Sean, my true blue Aussie husband, he would just say, what's happening here? Can you translate? I said, oh, you know, Mum is just worried that it's too far, and it's going to take us too long to come back for dinner, blah, blah, blah. I said, yeah, how far is that? 1 hour and a half? And he would laugh. I said, let's go. We're out of here. We'll be back in time for dinner. Because the space here, it's, you know, it's huge. But then even looking at the Gympie region, so Sardinia, it's long 350 k's. So from here to Brisbane, that's the island. Imagine from here to Brisbane full of Sardinians like me. That's scary. But it's not like that. The population is way under. We do have 1.6 million of Sardinians still in Sardinia, but another 1.5 million, and I'm one of those, everywhere. We're everywhere, okay? So there's 3 million, like the whole Brisbane, of Sardinians, okay? So all the different names, Sicily, Calabria, Rome, you know, that's Lazio, Tuscany. Who knows about Tuscany? Who wants to own a house in Tuscany? Oh, Cheryl was the first one, that's the first wooden spoon. I really wish you to have your house in Tuscany. Very well deserved. Very well deserved. All of those people there, the borders have been very, you know, fluid. Things have been changing a lot. And that's why, again, as you will find in the book, as part of this project, this research, things happen to those people. Because from above, people decide things. And then on the ground, people all of a sudden are like, oh, I'm not Italian anymore? No, you're not. But I am, I speak Italian. I've been in Italy my whole life. Well, no, you're not. So, because of that, people had to move, and some of them ended up being part now even of the social fabric of the Gympie region, okay? So, the main question is always why? Why? That's what my daughter says, but why? But why? Why this project? Why this kind of research? To go and find Italian migration stories in the Gympie region. Why this interest? Why could be so important about it? What's the social history? It is history, but you're also part of it because it comes from people, they're still living, breathing, thinking, and they share their lived memories, their recollections. So that's what we call social history, which I find it's even more, it's deeper than just grabbing a book and reading it. When you have people telling you and you see their face and you see how their eyes change and the emotions that they give to you. There's of course a lot of talk about food, and I'm sorry, there's no food here this morning, so if any of you came here to have some pasta, there's no pasta, okay? But not that was part of the excitement. Good marketing, as a social manager here, social media manager, I decided to put a bit of, the spaghetti. Don't call it spaghetti, because it's spaghetti. So the book, don't fall for it. It's not more than spaghetti, it's more than spaghetti. Okay, if you can pronounce this, there's another wooden spoon there for you. Sherry Mason got another one. Fantastic, fantastic. It all starts with food. We have to fill up our bellies. Okay, who loves food here? Who loves Italian food? I want to see all hands up now. Okay. Even when I was looking for information, the legacy, what these people left, it all started around the spaghetti. And Mr. Mars is here today, so it was actually in his book that I found out about the spaghetti crisis. Yeah, a crisis. Well, apparently the Italians will get grumpy when they run out of spaghetti. I can relate. We do tend to have that kind of a feeling. But it's one of the questions, nowadays. Come on, let's give me names of Italian food. Tortellini, carbonara, lasagna, gnocchi, pizza, limoncello. Who likes to drink limoncello? Fantastic, I like the raise of hands here. Fettuccine, pappardelle, fusilli, penne, rigatoni, risotto, mascarpone e tiramisù. I can keep going, okay? There's many words actually in your, it might not be your forte when you cook that. Your forte. That's Italian. Your forte, your strength, okay? So we have become, like it or not, we're not like the British. They come here, they conquer, they check, yeah, here, they put the flag. Now, speak English, everyone. No, we do it in a different way. We cook for you. We give a glass of vino, right? No one said wine. We bring the grapes. We bring the olive oil. It's good for your skin. We have been doing a different cultural colonization, but it's here. It's in your daily lives. But you're not aware of it, and it's not your fault. Simply, if no one tells you, you cannot know, and what you don't know, you don't appreciate it, or you can be disgusted by it. It's either way. But you cannot have any reaction, you cannot have an emotional attachment to all of that. So, surely, the Italian culinary contribution, nowadays, it's everywhere. There's mamas and papas in Gympie and other places, okay? But who brought the food? The people. And that's what Australia, the contemporary, this idea of the modern contemporary Australia, they needed human capital. So to have that, there's been a lot of discussions, probably red tape back then, on how, don't start rolling, it's just a video. On how we're going to bring the people here, how are we going to do this? First of all, you let them think it's their own decision. But any decision, any choice in life, it's planted from something else, from somewhere else, okay? So mostly they will tell you that immigrants are very poor people, peasants, desperate wars, running away from a bad breakup, running away because many reasons. After the war, this is very hard for me to say, the First and the Second World War, and again, I've got to dislocate my jaw, sorry. The big global conflicts. Everyone was starving, everyone was desperate. Lucky them, they came to Australia. There's more to it. And that was just in the 1 decade. But people came here way before. And they're still coming. I am here to prove that. Okay? So it's the Italian human contribution that is still hidden. So when the ministers, back in the room, VIP room on Monday in Brisbane, they were so grateful to the Italian community, how much they brought here with their migration, blah, 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 blah. I looked around, but it was them, it was, you know, there wasn't the actual audience, the actual Italians that had to go through the challenges. Yes, they did achieve a lot, but many challenges, as we all can understand nowadays. So it's easier to celebrate what we can taste, something that we can really enjoy. It's harder to understand the stories, the work, the names, and that's why I ended up writing a book. It's not about me, I'm just a wannabe author or writer, but it's about the people that are in these 10 chapters and their stories, okay? Now, just quickly, does anyone know this guy? Yo, oh yeah, so there you go, that's your wooden spoon there. Fantastic. Alright, he wasn't there on Monday, apparently he had different commitments, but he didn't know it is Elisa Mele. You are, so, okay, attention. He was with Deputy Councillor Dolly. That's why Elisa Mele, who's the Premier, not the boss, the Premier of the state of Queensland. Now, I don't want to talk about politics, stay away from it. I don't want to talk about what they say, what they do, that's a different conversation. Like it or not, one of us, it's your Premier. So this shows how the migration stories are important and definitely in your daily life because he's making decisions. And Tegan, she's my friend now, she was sitting next to me, and there was other, Gracie Grace, Shadow Minister of Education, she was with Steve Miles, so we are coming, we're actually starting to conquer more and more. It all started with the table and the tablecloth, but now it's becoming really deeper into the fabric of this society. Okay? Oh yes, even Roma Street. Roma is the capital city of Italy. Thank you very much. Okay? So, we're traveling here today. Don't worry about your visa. You're all sorted. I got you. But we are traveling today. Okay? We're traveling from Italy, the big space of Queensland, but mostly here in Gympie. When I put the application in for, the RADF, the Regional Arts Development Funding, to the Gympie Region, I actually explained that I wanted to reach out to people from my generation. So people that, came with my kind of visa and recollect those stories. And I already knew a few of them. It turned out they didn't even want to be interviewed. And I went back to the 19th century. So not my generation, not even alive, okay? So it was definitely a surprise, a very happy surprise when I was able to go back that far. But talking about the why, a few people here live in Rainbow Beach, okay, yes? Shake your head like that for me, yes, I know you're awake, fantastic. When I first arrived here, more than 12 years ago now, I went to Saint-Maureen souvenir shop and I was asking for tourist information. And they gave me, I still have it somewhere, this pamphlet. And then I saw the names of the places. Carlo Semblo, Carlo again, Carlo Point, Carlo Road, oh. So, well, this must be Italian, surely it's Italian. Now, Carlo is the Italian and Spanish version of the name Charles, like King Charles. Now, it's not Charles Semblo, is it? No, it's not Charles Point. It's not Charles Road.
So for many years, this was before this project, I've been asking, who's Carlo? Who's this guy? Who was it? Why you have a 50% chance, an Italian name here in Rainbow Beach? Who was Carlo? Carlo, come to me, tell me. There's a myth, a legend. Apparently he was one of the sailors with the chef, the cook, James Cook. I always make him sound a bit higher. When James Cook arrived, through the East Coast, of course he was amazed. We pay lots of money nowadays for a seasighting tour, don't we? Well, he had it, a bit cheaper. And apparently, so that's what the myth says, there was a sailor on his, in the Ava, and that's why he called the place Carlo Sandblow. Guess what? There's no record of this. So someone got drunk one day at the pub and they put up this story and then just stick to the place where, yeah, that's what happened. That's what happened. Yes. So it might have been one of these surveyors, these people that came here checking the land, mapping and trying to discover, oh, lots of space here, beautiful. What can we do with this? Kick away the people. Oh, yeah, shh, there's no people there. Let's do something, all right? We just draw the lines and this and that. So maybe it was that kind of Carlo. Maybe it was Sam and Maureen Friend. We do not know. We're not going to know. And that's probably part of the beauty, the mysteries. But other things I was able to track down a bit more. So does anyone has any knowledge here? Am I the only person asking questions here? Has anyone ever been curious about to get to know more? Oh, Sylvia, of course, Sylvia. There's a whole chapter about Sylvia. It's chapter 2, all right? But not everyone really asks. And it is a bit hard to find information. You really got to put your head into books, archives, photos, and all of that. So when I had to share, because it's part of the grant guidelines, you must, they're going to look good and everyone is happy. You got to say that you got the support. So I did this beautiful video. So I thought it was beautiful. I should say my social media manager did this video, and then I shared it and said, I'm looking for Italian stories. If you are Italian, you live here, or someone in your family, you've got the background, you've got heritage, Italian heritage, please do get in touch with me. And then I left, and I went back home, well-deserved, sunbaking in Sardinia in summertime, and I did receive an email. So someone read the articles, and that was Sylvia Panizzon. Do not say Penizon. It's Panizzon. Sylvia Panizzon Jones, because she lives in Tinken Bay. So she was not born in Italy. Don't get too excited. Don't marry her for the passport, okay? Settle down. There were two different kind and sorts of participants to this project. Either people that were, yes, born in Italy, and they gave contributions to the Gympie region, or people that live here, and they've got their nonno, their grandparents, an uncle, someone in their genes that is Italian, okay? So you will find these different stories. So for instance, Sylvia lives in Tinken Bay, but the story she shared with me, and it's in chapter 2, it's about Gaetano Panizzon, her grandfather. He did not, I don't think he ever came to Gympie, did he? No. Gaetano, maybe, there is a chance there, But Gaetano himself, he didn't come to Gympie region, but that's not a problem. It is still part because his granddaughter is carrying his history, is carrying the genes, and she's stubborn. So definitely she carries even a little bit of the personality from Gaetano. She's lovely. So we do bring with us more. Okay, the traumas, the joys, the way we're triggered in life, the way we react to things, how we handle a happy moment or a not so happy moment. It's with us, it's within our family, it's within the roots. Okay, I don't even remember what I put. Oh yeah, that's a nice photo. Let's leave to that. Actually, here. It was very hard for me to pick, out of 10 chapters, how can I pick? And I don't want to make you fall asleep here, but
with all means, if you do need to take a nap away from everyone, please, I'm not going to get offended, okay? Still fine with me. Because I would love even to have some questions, if any of you is brave enough to ask for questions. This is what you call the table of content, okay? So, there's of course a taste of Italy in the chapter 1. The chapter 2, it says escaping Benito. He was a bad guy. Not the person escaping him, Benito. This is a little bit political, but it was the famous Mussolini. Now everyone knows about Adolf. Sorry, I'm just checking, I don't have any mustache like that. Adolf Hitler. Well, he did befriend Benito, okay? And then it's history what they caused and their mess. So in the book, I had all sorts of point of views and life and experiences from Gaetano that had to escape from Mussolini. But that was back in 1922. Someone can say, excuse me, Elisa, that's 20 years before it all exploded. Well, it was a slow cooking tragedy that they organized in Europe, okay? So that's when it started. But the history of what Mussolini was doing in Italy, like it or not, arrived here. So there were Italians, they were either for Mussolini or against Mussolini. That's what we do, not judging, it's just the way. Everyone needs to build an opinion. But here on the ground, Mussolini had the Australian police chasing down the people that would say they were against Mussolini. So when we think we're not connected, sorry I have to tell you, we are all connected.
Did you just say...
She raised the wooden spoon. I love that.
Did you say they were chasing the people
here, Italians, yes.
Against Mussolini?
Yes, and anti-fascista, anti-fascist. Okay, so there was an agreement.
So who was doing the chasing?
The Australian police.
Really?
I know, that was my reaction. Really? I love that, thank you. I love it. That was exactly my reaction. But then what happened? Oh, Mussolini and Adolf. They did what they did. So Mussolini went to a different side, and he wasn't with, you know, the royal family. It wasn't with UK anymore. It wasn't with France. It was on the other side, not with the Allies, but with the Axis. Not Axis. Thank you very much. So what happened is that even during that time, what was happening over there still arrived here, okay? And one of the reasons why, and I'm actually very, very happy, I get star track from people that have amazing stories in life, Mr. Alex Miles. I was so lucky to know him in person and blackmail him to come here today, because he's still very young, but when he was a boy, a little boy, he was a kid, in his family farm, Italians arrived. I was like, okay, Elisa, nothing new. There were no free Italians. There were chains attached, or strings attached, whatever way you want to define it, but they were prisoners of war, the POWs. And I was like, what? And then I said it again, what are you talking about? What war? Australian soil never had a war, I know that, I've done the citizenship test. Didn't matter, because again, the connection, the global issues, the global dynamics, it all affects every single person, every single place here on earth. So these Italians, they were enemies because of that friendship between Adolf and Mussolini. They were considered against the UK, against Australia. So when they were caught, they had a bit of an overflow. They caught too many, because the Italians were too busy to each other, probably, these poor soldiers. And then the prisons somewhere else were overflowing, okay? And then they ended up being sent where? I know a place down there, very much isolated, with lots of space, and guess what? We need people. Let's send them there. Because we sent these new Australians to fight over there and capture them, so they're busy there, so we don't have people working in the farms here, but we need people to work in a farm. And the Girls' Land Army, it's not enough, it's not plenty. I've worked in a farm, I don't have, you know, the stamina of a man in those things. So then they brought here the prisoners of war, these enemies, the Italians, to actually grow bananas, green beans, pineapple, They even make steel out of pineapple. Oh God, I love them. I'm actually curious, I want to know how they did that. Fermented pineapple. So there were that kind of Italians and migration stories that arrived here in the Gympie region, in Gomborian, in, you know, all the way from here to Gympie, and then on that side of Gympie, all the farms, most of the farms had Italian enemies. Do you remember the fruit they had on the second slide? What was that fruit? Dates. Dates are important. Everyone makes a mess when it's a big office bureaucracy and all of that. Even when Benito eventually something hit him on the head and he was like, hang on a minute, I'm gonna teach Mussolini and I go back with the Allies. We were back to be friends. The Italians here were still enemies. Were still aliens. They were still prisoners. So they spent 3 years as prisoners, but they were actually technically free men. It wasn't too bad, obviously. Some of them came back. When they were eventually kicked back out of Australia, they worked things out. In 1947, a big ship, put them all there, sent them back home. And then some had been away for so long, like 9 years, where they left the little kids like that, and then they came back and they said, who are you? I am your father. I think that's where Star Wars probably started with the story, okay? What is it, Darth Vader, something like that. So some of them came back. And then, you know, they're still alive, their generations are here, are alive, and all of that. But then there were also other people that came way earlier. Way earlier. Not kidding. When did they find the Gympie gold? On the other side of the rainbow, you know, the rainbow as the pots of gold? See why they didn't give me the microphone. The gold, actually, on the other side of the rainbow is in Gympie. Anyone has any idea about roughly when that happened, when it was Nashville?
1867.
1867, that's when officially and all of that. It was Nashville. Poor James Nash. He was actually very poor, you know. And then he had this lucky thing happening. Oh, I found gold. And Queensland and Gympie Region saved Queensland. It was a tough time. It was a very tough era in that. But the news, they get to be spreaded, right? So this guy, Domenico, somehow he heard about the gold in Gympie, in Nashville, in Gympie. So he made his way back up here, and he arrived here at the same time when they were building the Double Island Point Lighthouse, which you all know happened exactly 100 years before I was born, which, as you know, was in 1984. So in 1884, that's when Domenico made his way here. And he started working in the gold mines, and then, you know, all sorts of jobs. It was the development, he got the block of land and that. He was still feeling a bit lonely, as it happens. There's a few men here today, but, you know, men do need women. I love the giggle. Thank you. So, for many reasons. And he ended up marrying an Italian 10, 11 years later that came from the north. You know, he made his way up from Sydney. He came from the north and all around from Maryborough. Very close, okay? So again, not strictly in the Gympie region nowadays, but remember the borders, the map, the lines, they changed. It's fluid, okay? So Maria arrived, ended up down here in Gympie, but from Maryborough. I'm not sure if it was an arranged marriage. He was way young. She was way younger than him. Lucky man. Like 10, you know, 12 years. She ended up marrying an Italian all the way from Italy and having 7 boys. From those 7 boys, then another one of them had 7 kids. Oh, the wife of this guy had 7 kids. So strong genes there. So those descendants are pretty much still everywhere. Like Peter Tremarchi, if anyone is into sports, he's still the former professional Gympie, very own Gympie. People know him. Yeah, I know him too. Tennis player. So that's another area, another field where we've been expanding, even in the sports. Okay. But if anyone here is impressed about the number 7 kids, let's raise it. Let's give me 8, let's give me 9, let's give me 10, let's give me 11. I know. 11 kids, no TV. Probably they couldn't even read, so they couldn't read books. They had to do something in their days. But again, they needed labour. Having kids back in the day, the more the merrier, because you put them straight kindergarten, university, what's that? In the farm. Everyone was part of the lifestyle. Everyone was really part of the making of this region. Very much about grazing, that's a new word for me. Pastoral, agricultural, the dairy farms, the meat, coming up with, crafting, engineering, and then what are we going to do today? There's a lot of space here. Let's just try and grow bananas. What's that? I don't know. It's a fruit they have here. It's sweet. It's good. Don't bend it too much. They're going to call you a banana bender, okay? But let's try and grow bananas. Where? Oh, there's a space there. Let's call it Sirius Creek. Are you serious? No, Sirius Creek. Sirius Creek, they've been growing bananas. It failed a little bit. As, maybe thank goodness for us, I don't know, it ended up becoming a national park. National park. There's history in the Gympie region of the variety, the landscape, and another person that really, really, really helped me with understanding and gathering information was actually the first ranger of the national park. So back in the 70s, they said, enough of this. Maybe we are damaging the place the way we're doing it, It appears that those people had 7 kids, the one had 11. There's going to be people here now, so you have to do something and think ahead of us and plan it in a different way, okay? So when you see in chapter, was that 6, the research takes a turn. It takes a turn now. That was my personal tribute to Mr. Ron Turner, and how he actually, even if I don't think he's got any Italian blood in him, that doesn't matter. The way that he really tried to understand, as I'm doing, why is this place called Spada Street? Who were they? Maybe he knows about colour. I'll ask him again. So there's people that in different ways can contribute to the understanding of yesterday, so that we can grasp and face what's happening today, and then be inspired about what's going to happen tomorrow. So pretty much that's my main, I speak about Italians because I know them. I'm one of them. But it's also because, and that's what I quote what the panel, the assessors, about the grant application. They say, yes, we're going to give this lady some money, because we're hoping that this project can inspire other communities to do the same. So it's not about just the Italians. Again, it's about the Hungarians, it's about the people that came from Romania, from Slovenia, the people that came from Ireland, whatever, you name it. Austria, not Australia, Austria. It's about that, okay? And I'm sure that everyone can be inspired. Now, first of all, these are not all the stories. Oh God, no. I didn't have time for that. This is I would say, antipasto, an appetizer. Okay? It's just to give a bit of a taste. If you're really lucky and I become very famous and, so wealthy, I will do the sequel. So if you buy the books. But apart from that, some people might still come to me and say, why am I not there? I will be very happy to talk to them, or we can escalate in different ways, okay? So these are 10 chapters, 10 stories, and there is a variety. Trust me, there is a variety in there. History can be boring, especially if you ask my child. It's boring. I really try not to make this work boring, because I really want people to know about it, to know about these people. Who was Maria? Who was Domenico? What about Antonio? What do you mean? What's a buzzing story going bananas? What's that even mean? What's a great document? What's so fun and interesting about a great document? What's that gonna change? Well, you can read it, and then we can have even more conversations about it, okay? I wanna go silent now, because I don't want to overdo it. I'm very, very grateful to every single person that either drove all the way from Gympie, see the pocket, think about it, that's in north. The bumpy road, Theebine, thank you, that's really remote. rural region remote area. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. I don't want to get going. If there's any question, I mean, I can talk for days. If there's any questions, anything that wasn't clear, feel free to raise your wooden spoon if you got one, or your hand. Surely you got that one. And yes, this is me. I had Sylvia that had the hand up, I'm sorry. I had the flow, I didn't want to lose my brain, you know, the spark in that. But yes, so Sylvia Panizzon, she's here. Please say hello to her, she's in chapter 2. Mr. Miles is here, and he is chapter 3. He is an amazing man. I had someone here that had to go back to work, someone has to work. And she was actually the chapter 9 participant. And then we've got chapter 8, actually. The buzzing story gone bananas. You want to say a few words? Yes, I am done. Shut up, look at this.
I just wanted to say a really quick thank you to Elisa for coming along. I know I was really captivated by your storytelling, and I'm really, really looking forward to reading your book, so thank you so much. Just before you head off today, we do have some feedback forms on your clipboard there, so if you can take a few moments just to fill those out. We do actually read through every single feedback form and take on any suggestions that you do offer to us. So if you would like to see more events like this, please note that down on your feedback form. Otherwise, we do have tea, coffee and a few snacks down the back if you would like to have those before you leave. Otherwise, thank you so much, and thank you, Elisa, and I hope you all have a wonderful day. Thank you so much.
Yes, Sylvia has a question. Hello, I'm back.
I just have a bit of information that people might be interested in just following on.
You want to come here? If you don't mind? Yeah.
Hi everyone. I just have a little bit of information that I'd like to share with you, following on from your question, the lady in the white with the spoon.
Cheryl.
Believe it or not, the Intelligenza, which is the intelligence part of Italy, were actually monitoring people in Australia, and one of them was my grandfather. So because he was opposed to Mussolini, they kept an eye on him, and my father actually remembers the house being raided looking for booklets and things like that. So it's pretty amazing to think that they would go to all that trouble to find someone in Australia, because they viewed my grandfather as a troublemaker because he was very outspoken and he stood up for his fellow workers in this woolen mill in Veneto. So yeah, I just wanted to say that a lot of Italian people in Australia were still worried about the government checking up on them. And my grandfather actually got papers and he cemented them into the walls of his garage. So yeah, some interesting stories. Thank you.
So careful when you buy a house in Australia. Check the walls if it belongs to Italians and all that. You might find all sorts of things. But there's definitely a book just about Sylvia's story. I couldn't put everything in there. Each chapter can have its own book. That's how interesting. And even for me, I was a very good student in Italy. I never got to learn about these things. You know, so what happened here was kept here. No one here knows, no one over there knows. So that's where we can all ask questions. That's all we need to know, to start with. Ask a question, okay? Yes, Cheryl.
I'd just like to say congratulations. I bought the book on, I've got it on Kindle, and I love your style. I'd just like to know, sorry.
No, I love it. I'm following.
How you came up with all of the, I love the names of the chapters. And yeah, I'd just like to know, you know, what was your process?
Thank you. And it's also me trying to show off a little bit in Australian, which is making it hard now because I'm translating the book in Italian. So how can I translate a buzzing story gone bananas? It wouldn't make any sense in Italian. So the one in the chapter 2, actually, let's start from chapter 1. Very emotional for me. You will get to understand why. But yes, so Giorno was actually the surname. So I played, Giorno is day. And your g'day would be buongiorno, okay? So I played a little bit with that. And I said, buongiorno cafe, my first taste of Italy in Gympie, which wasn't the name of the cafe. You're gonna read the chapter. I really don't want to spoil too much. Escaping Benito, yes, it was Gaetano that had to flee. It was really, literally told, take this money and disappear, or we will make you disappear. Lucky he did the right thing, and that's why we've got Sylvia here today, okay? So he had to leave his family, the wife and all of that, and flee, and come here, okay? Not all of his friends made it. There's Francesco Fantini included in this chapter. He was murdered. It's still, yes, it was raised, it was escalated. Again, between Italians, they were put together in a place, but they don't all agree in these centers, prisons, camps, whatever way you want to call it. So that's about Mussolini, as in the fascists, the anti-fascists, they arrived here in Australia. The heritage, conflict, and of course spaghetti, that's related to Mr. Miles, Joanna Tapiolas, who helped writing the story of the POWs. We had the Q3, the Santa, the prisoners, Santa here in Gympie, there in Gympie. So heritage, because again, there's books about it, and I humbly only put in one chapter altogether. There's the spaghetti crisis, and how, you know, these people, these enemies, these aliens, a lot of talk about spaghetti, and how the kids from the farms, they teach their mum cuisine, and they went eating with the POWs to have the pasta and everything. But definitely the conflict, because it was during the war, okay? Melino, the little red apple from Puglia to Amamua. So Puglia is one of the regions in the south of Italy, and particularly with this story, is because one of those POWs came back to his farm in Amamua, but then he had the same poor conditions, and it was a bit of a shock for him, because when they were soldiers, they were prisoners, but they had a bit of, you know, people were assisting them with the language, with this and that. They had to check on them, so people would show up with the canteen. When he came back, he was even more poor and completely alone. But then eventually, after 4 or 5 years, he managed to bring his wife, and oh, what a shock. So that's the chapter about them. And then the researcher takes a Turner, sorry, Mr. Turner. Oh, that's a bit American, wasn't it? We are. L for love, Lovero. It's the town from the north Italy, and that's from the Alps to the gold fields. So it's pretty much the story about the Tramacchi family, Domenico, and 6 generations under, they're still here. A buzzing story gone bananas. Well, there's 2 elements here. Bazzo is the surname. So it's a buzzing story, right? Did you like that? That's nice, isn't it? And then they end up in Pomona growing bananas. But gone bananas means something different. I know that. Google doesn't tell you that. I know that now. The Great Document. This was probably the biggest discovery and surprise for me, because there's all sorts of migrants. And when I mentioned at the start about the borders and how things change, the fluidity, how today you're Italian, tomorrow you're not. But then you might become Italian again. So there's a story from this little girl that came here, and she didn't even know in what kind of migrant. I had told her. She was like, no, we were just migrants. I said, yes, but this kind of migrant. Oh. So it was very touching, very emotional. And that's about the grey document, okay? Colours are very important, not just that. Red slopes with shades of green and white. That's the closest to us because it's in Gomorian. So Red Slopes was the name of the farm, still there in Webster Road, looking at the mountain, Gomorian mountain. And yes, they also had some prisoners of wars, so places where I've been driving, like, oh, it's nice here, la la la. And there were people before us, before me, as prisoners, or doing all sorts of things. Yes, and these are pretty much the names. Does it make sense? Yes?
Sorry, I have a question. I'm Italian, and I know that you should know as well that normally in Italy we don't break spaghetti.
Oh, that's weird.
And when I saw the cover of the book, I was like, Elisa, what are you doing? So I just wanted to know, is there...
Why?
Is there a meaning behind that?
Guilty as? Thank you, Alessia. She's in the conclusion, by the way. She's not mentioned. No one escaped from it. Oh, that was the talk. I actually received messages from people. What's wrong with you? I have this to me. What's wrong with you? Why you doing this, Elisa? What now? The breaking of the spaghetti is definitely a conversation starter. And as I would reply back and reassure, I'm not going bananas, I'm not crazy, I didn't lose my marbles. How Australian is that? And it's about breaking the identity. So people can break the spaghetti. Yeah, sure, do that. But you cannot break someone's real, true identity. So that's why I do not judge a cover by the book, but there's actually a lot of thought on the making of this cover. The landscape is Rainbow Beach. Thanks to Jess McKenzie, the photographer, we've had a bit of fun. But yeah, it was hard. She hated me during that photo shoot. She said, come on, Elisa, just do it, you gotta do it. And I had to do it. A few times, because she was like, surely you can do better than that. So judgmental, I've never done this before. I'm a virgin, it's breaking spaghetti. But it is something that we do for kids. You break them, if you don't have to make the minestra, you run out of the other little ones, just specifically made for the minestra type, the soup. We break them for the kids. So it is very particular. But back in the day, some people, they had to break them because they were way longer. So the artists in the homemade one were like a U shape. You know why? Chaka U, you know why U-turn? Yes, because that's how they will hang them to dryer. With the wooden spoon, yeah.
So why don't you break spaghetti?
I actually don't know, because then other people, this has been on social media, it's gone viral, at least, and there's actually people here, they came to me, oh, I had on the radio about your Breaking Spaghetti book. That's the new title. It's the Breaking the Spaghetti book, okay? No one really knows. We're Italians, we start doing things and then we forget. Some people just decided, and we all religiously, very much, yeah. For the flavour, you do need the length. That's the reason. Because each shape of pasta, there's 50 shades of pasta. Shapes, no shades, shapes of pasta. Then you do need a different sauce. So it sticks properly to the, we're crazy. So that's probably why. You need to have that length. And in Brisbane, I did go to a ramen place, and they gave, Japanese, and I had the, how you call it? No scissors. Wow, we've got to do a picture. The chopsticks, thank you. The chopsticks, like that, but just like that, right? So what I did, I just went like that, and I just like that. And I ate my noodles. And my friend said, Elisa, I'm not going to go out with you again. It's Italian.